All right, so I call to order this special meeting of the library trustees. And Fran, can you do the roll call?
Roll call, Ruth Titlebaum, here. Jennifer Smith, here. Stephanie Najat, here. Christina Pasalo, here. Peter Bakula,
Yeah.
Ann Quinn,
Here,
excuse me, Stacy Dolan,
Here.
Richard Shulian,
Here.
Brenda Lucci, here. Stephanie Delar, absent, Kate O'Brien, here. Okay, we're all set.
All right, so we're gonna bring in our first committee.
Got it?
Alrighty, start webinar.
it's a little hard to hear. The voices aren't clear. Oh,
Sorry, I've got the thing out as far as it can go.
Are we all set now, Jen? Are we all set now, Jen? Great. So, why don't you give us like a little background, introduction, short.
So I've been in public and school libraries. I did a very short stint in a corporate library for about 15 years. And of that 15
excuse
years,
me,
5.
excuse me, which of our candidates is this?
Kara
Kara
Rothman.
Who?
Kara.
Rodman.
Kara, okay.
Sorry, I should have started with my name. I apologize. And of that 15 years, I've spent 5 years in administration and leadership roles as a director and an assistant director of libraries. Over that time, my style of leadership is very supportive, collaborative. I've really embodied radical candor. I'm not sure if anyone's read that book. But the philosophy there is to care personally about your staff and your people that you work with and to challenge them directly. So open and clear communication along with being supportive and having open communication both from the top down and from the bottom up. I'd say I'm a yes person. I like to say yes, and if something doesn't work out perfectly, that's okay. I'd rather us try something and see what happens. And I'd also say I'm a very creative problem solver. I like to solve problems and find solutions. And the success of the staff is really important to me as a leader. I really want our staff to develop professionally and in their current roles, or if that means that they develop beyond us or within internally, that's great as well. But that's my kind of my goal as a director and a leader.
What leads you on?
So, question. I think Peabody would be a great next step for me, and it would be a great challenge for me, which I'm ready to take on that new challenge. I do have experience with a town that has a main library and then 2 small branches, so I'm familiar with how that works. I'm really excited about the diversity that Peabody brings, and the historic part of it, and being in a building that is a historic registry is also really intriguing to me. It's not something that I have a ton of experience with, but it's something that I'd like to gain experience with and see how that can be leveraged and used and maintained.
Can you tell us about your experience hiring people in the department?
Sure. In my time in Wellesley, I've been there for about 3.5 years, and I think I've hired 25 people. We've had a lot of turnover, particularly in part-time positions. both, library assistants and librarians. And we've done a lot of actual internal movement, which has been really exciting because there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for that in the past. Whether through retirements or people moving on to different libraries. So that whole process included writing job postings, vetting candidates, organizing, scheduling interviews, being part of the interview process, helping department heads make their choices, answering candidate questions, and then onboarding staff and offboarding the staff too. So it's been pretty extensive. I actually really enjoy the hiring process. I like having new staff. I think it brings in a good new, it can potentially bring in a really positive new dynamic.
Have you been in something, yes, but so have you coached this coming in people who supervise? If yes, has it gone well and what?
Sure. Yes, I've done coaching process with, actually, I was the assistant director. I actually ended up being the supervisor of my previous supervisor, if that makes sense. When I was a reference librarian, I ended up becoming her supervisor as assistant director. And that was a very seamless transition. We worked really well together. So that wasn't an issue. And most of the supervisors that directly report to me have been in their careers for 20 to 30 years. And I have had to go through an improvement plan with 2 of them actually. And again, going back to that really direct, clear communication is really important, that this is about performance. It's not about you as the person who you are as the core human being, but just making sure that you're doing the best you can in your position and how can we give you the tools to be the most successful. So in that instance, things I thought went really smoothly. They were 3-month long improvement plans and both people were successful. It did not need to progress, but I have also been part of the disciplinary process with verbal warnings, written warnings. And actually right after I was hired, there was someone who was in the process of being terminated, so I was part of that to the tail end of it. I'd say where I work now in Wellesley, we have a very clear step process that we all follow, so it all went as well as it could, I guess, in that instance.
Please tell us about your experience in managing library facilities. So discuss the facility projects that you've been involved in managing. Tell us about the size of the projects, budgets, and challenges that you have.
Sure. So when I was a director in Nottingham, New Hampshire, it was a very small library, about 5,000 people in the town. There wasn't a very clear plan for maintaining the building. So a lot of things were reactive. When something broke, it was broken. And I actually oversaw the change in the water filtration system because the building was on a well. So this was very out of my area of expertise. I can tell you a lot about it now, water softeners and all that. So the budget was very small. It ended up being about $5,000 project. But I did go through the whole process of, I didn't have to put out an RFP, but I was able to acquire 3 or 4 different quotes from local plumbers, and I ended up bringing an electrician in too. So it felt very like a homeowner type project. And I haven't yet had to do something that's on a much larger scale. So in Wellesley, I was part of the tail end of an interior renovation. So I wasn't part of the upfront process, but the finalization project or process of signage and paint colors and furniture and rearranging collections, managing the staff when we had to leave the building for 4 months and then move everybody back in. So I was part of finding a temporary space and kind of wrapping up the loose ends and then throwing in a party for the reopening.
Please describe your outreach plan. What specific what specific or types of community organizations we can reach out to in order to develop those collaborative relationships for the library, visibility, funding.
Sure, this is one of the things I do now specifically, in Wellesley, outreach is one of my big, responsibilities. And I did a lot of it too when I was in New Hampshire. And I work very closely with the Council on Aging, Recreation. Actually, specifically the Special Education Department in the public schools. And there are a few private schools in Wellesley that we work closely with, mostly the art departments there. I've also worked closely with Wellesley College and Babson College. We're now part of their community student activity fair twice a year. So they actually have a lot of college students now at the library cards. It's great. We also partner with police, fire. They come and actually do programs for kids, and they've done a lot of training recently with the staff, which is great. First Amendment audits. Marketing training, the functional ed.
Yes, it's okay. So please describe your outreach.
Sure. So I think the first thing to do would be to introduce myself to these departments and try to get a sense of, and speaking with the staff of what's currently being done. What are their ideas and their kind of hopes and dreams of how we could continue to develop those relationships. And also working with those departments to figure out how best can the library potentially serve them in their departments. And then what are the areas from their, through their lens, what are the areas of need in the community? And what kind of services or resources can the library help to meet those needs? I think from my past experience, having positive, respectful working relationships with all those various departments is really important. And that's having FaceTime with them and their staff and seeing where the library, their specific department can kind of fit together. We've done, oh, and the health department is another one that gone to where we've done a lot of educational programs for mental health, and specifically as kind of where we started, and it's kind of developed.
So we're currently focused on strategic plan and drafting a long range plan for the library's next 5 years. You see as an important stakeholder to involve as well as work on the library's long range plan. And what would you like to focus on as a part of this process?
Sure, so I think key stakeholders will be patrons, trustees, folks from the foundation, the friends, staff. Super important volunteers, if we have volunteers. I think involving students or youth that are part of the library that participate. We've had that in the past. In Wellesley, we actually have a couple students that are part of this town meeting or town meeting members, and we included them in our strategic partnership, which was really great. And part of that, we also did focus groups. And when I say, I guess patrons would be a range of ages and interests and race and ethnicity. I'm trying to maybe get folks that aren't necessarily power users of the library. We'd love to have their input as well. And how can we better reach out to people who maybe don't utilize the library as much as others? Did I answer all parts of that question? Okay.
Hello.
So, yes.
I have a question. What has been your experience in terms of fundraising? Did any of the libraries you worked at have a foundation or friends group that were involved with raising money for the library?
Yes, so at all libraries I've worked at, I've worked closely with the friends of the library. And mostly they're getting their funding through membership fees and their annual book sales. And in Wellesley, they have an ongoing book sale as well. So I worked closely with them. And then in Wellesley, there is a foundation. And I've been a part of quite a few different fundraising events. They've done Books in Bloom. Every other year, they have a gala. And they've done a lot of, they did a huge capital fundraising campaign for us when we did the interior renovation, which was 3 years ago.
Thank you.
So what kind of experience have you had with boards of library trustees? In your opinion, what distinguishes an effective board of library trustees from an ineffective? And what would you expect?
Excellent. So my experience as a director, I worked very closely with our board in New Hampshire. It runs a little bit differently there than it does in Massachusetts, but had a great working relationship with them. They were voted in, not appointed, and a lot of them were just active users of the library and didn't have a ton of knowledge about being a trustee board, so we really kind of worked together to make sure that we were following all the rules and we had our bylaws all together. So that was a little bit of a learning process there. My experience in Wellesley, I do, as an assistant director, I do attend all of the trustee meetings. And I have collaborated with a few of them on special projects. And I'd say the board there is very involved, yet they trust the director and administration and the staff to do their job and be professionals, which we appreciate. They're wonderful advocates for the library when it comes to budget and strategic planning, and really pushing for things that are in the best interest of the library long term, not just for them as a board, but looking down the road to future boards and trying not to make decisions that would put a future board in a tough spot. And I guess an expectation would be to collaborate and to support one another, whether that's, from both sides, as the director and as the board, a mutually, supportive team. I'd love to have a great team to work with and see what great things we can do for the library.
What would you do during your first week on the job? What about the first month?
I think the first week would be really getting to know all the staff. Meeting with people and understanding their role and why they're in the job they are, what motivates them. Making trips to the 2 branches and spending some time there, getting to know kind of the lay of the land there and the flow of things. And I think attending some programs would be really beneficial. I think within the first month, it would be great to have maybe a couple open houses or meet and greet for patrons to come in and meet me. And I'd really like to hear from the staff on what's going well, what are some areas of opportunity, and what can we really tackle right away, what are there things that, and try to get priorities in order.
Please talk about your experience in preparing and advocating for.
So when I was the director in Nottingham, I prepared that budget. It was about $80,000, not a ton of money. So you had to actually be more strategic about how you want to spend your money and split things between line items, and staffing was a challenge there. So being creative with hours and responsibilities, and I guess my experience there was really educating the select board and tangentially the whole community on how beneficial that library was to its community. So really putting together not just numbers and statistics, but putting a narrative to it and a story that makes sense to people, and how do we take this number of circulations versus this many, increase this much over last year, for example, what does that actually mean? And, why is this an important resource for the library? So, I actually enjoy doing those things. I think I'm very passionate about libraries and how they can serve their community and understanding each community is so different. The Peabody Library is so different than Wellesley because the communities are so different. And it's different than Newburyport and Danvers, and it's that way because each community is so unique, and that's why the library is to be just as unique to really make that connection.
What do you see as the most difficult task?
I think it's difficult to deliver some bad news. It's challenging. However, practicing, I'm gonna go back to my radical candor, that really having humanity as a manager is really important. And that initially criticism or constructive feedback can be perceived as a personal attack, yet the way you say it and how and the words that you choose are really that being very clear and concise, and your commentary and your feedback is not about this person being an office person, but their performance and or their behavior in the workplace.
What would your library director say?
I think she would say two things. I'm definitely a doer. I like to get things done, not just to get them done, but do them well. And if I'm presented with a problem or a project, I like to tackle it and do the best I can to have the best outcome. So I'm very productive, and I think she would say that I'm very personable. I think this, for the most part, the staff enjoy working with me. I enjoy working with them. I think that would be the most difficult thing to move on from, are the people. I think I'm good at making connections with the staff and really supporting them and making them feel comfortable coming to me with whatever the problem may be or an idea.
Do you have any questions or not? Do you have like a closing statement I didn't ask that you'd like to share or touch upon?
You're asking really good questions.
Well, so let me, so the process you, wait for a moment. Yeah, so in the tonight, we will then go into executive session. And to a public vote. Okay, then the next step would be. Okay. All I have anything additional you?
No, I really would just like to thank you for the opportunity. It's been a great experience interviewing for this in this whole process, and I hope that you're able to just honestly just choose the best person for the job. And then it's really important to have the right fit. So I don't envy your decision and the process that you're going through, but I'm really excited about the opportunity, and I appreciate all your time and your consideration.
Thank you so much, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Whoops.
Yes, Anne?
Yeah. The hot button issue these days in libraries is the business of parental involvement in the selection of materials, especially for children and teenagers. Where do you come down related to that issue?
So Anne, we can discuss that in executive session, okay?
What?
We can discuss that in executive session. Okay.
I'm asking her where she comes down in that on that issue.
So.
I can't hear very well. It's very muddy. So maybe
Are
the
you,
question has come
are
up.
you asking- are you asking how I would handle the situation if that
All right,
arose?
yes.
So I would hope that we here in Peabody have a reconsideration procedure. Yes. So I would definitely defer to that and or a policy that may have been written. And just following that procedure is really important and just treating it as if anyone came in with an objection, we would just follow that procedure. And move forward with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm all right. It might be some over the trustee from some bottled water. You're talking about there's time when she's there. Oh, yeah. Like, oh, you're talking about this. Yeah. Is it open now? It no, usually it's been open lately, we go in. It's been, I think it's been unlocked right now. Okay. How are you? Oh,
Good. Like, honestly, no question.
well, I didn't hear that, but I'm guessing. Possibility.
Good. Every time they have a meeting. Best thing that ever happened is the city taking over.
Are we allowed to?
We love to what?
Are we allowed to take a break? Pause. Yeah.
Oh.
breaks.
We should pause it. What I imagine. Thank you for reminding me.
Hey, Jim? Are we able to pause while the trustees take a quick break while they wait for the next candidate to arrive?
Peter, did you email me your resume sometime? I just like to look at it. I found, I used to do that. I used to just send it out. Here, look at this. Tell me if you have a question, something doesn't seem like, because it was kind of funny. What happened to me one time, I went to an interview and they said, you get an honorable discharge from the military? And I was like, I'm tired. To me, I've never even fathomed somebody asking a question. I was retired from the military, but you have honorable discharge. I got 4, you know, so.
Oh, no, there's no water. No, I was going to, because, you know, last time finding the lights. Oh, there was some there a little bit ago. It's okay. It was a little scary, you know, but.
But I always said,
Annie, can you hear us?
Yeah,
Thank you. So today I'm gonna ask all the questions. So to start, could you introduce yourself, give us a little of your background, experience?
Sure. My name is Morgan Yoder. I have been in library services for now almost 12 years. I started out here, I was in 2013, which is not listed on my resume, as a teen library aide. Moved up to Children's Library Services as an assistant children's librarian. Then I moved on to the South Branch here in Peabody. And now I currently have been in administration for almost 5 years.
Why Peabody?
Peabody. I'm from Peabody. I grew up here. I went to school here since I was in preschool. And I love this community. It's diverse. It is welcoming. It is just the kind of library that I would aspire to be for. I love this city. I love working with people that have worked here before and that I've listened to good things about. I mean, I can go on and on. I really just love the opportunity to share my, I think, knowledge of this city with the, other city departments here, with the board of trustees here, with the staff.
Tell us about your experience hiring people in the
Market. So I've done a lot of interviewing of other candidates for part library now, and some of that as the head of the branch. So now it is a very competitive market, I would say. There's more and more people that are getting into library services. And the process for that is really just, of course, you get your resumes and then you check those over. And then really what I find is meeting people in person is really going to show you kind of personality, and if that personality clicks well with your library. And so, that process also, at least that I've experienced in Marblehead, is really kind of a rating system where what are the strengths, what are some of the weaknesses, would you recommend those people hire? And then, checking references and making sure that what is said on paper really has come to life.
Have you had to coach, discipline, or motivate people you supervise? If yes, what's gone well and what's improvement?
Yes, all the above. So I have done some disciplinary conversations, I would say, and some of those involve, myself, my director, or another supervisor that I work with, and just really first having a conversation with that staff member, asking, what is working for you, maybe what's not working for you. How can we improve the skills that may be lacking at this time? And, you start there, and then you kind of want to work with, I want to see improvements in this amount of time. And if those improvements we aren't seen, then we will follow up another conversation. And at the end of that, if none of those things improve, then the conversation of, I don't think this is working for us. And that, I've done that before. It's never pleasant. It's always something that, you don't look forward to as a supervisor. But I think, it's a necessary thing to do as someone that's, a leader. Now, for something that needs improvement, I think that I would love to say I'm not nervous going into those conversations. I always am. I think if I could really settle those nerves a little bit and do that, I would love disciplining anyone. I don't want to do that. I just know that those are necessary steps in making sure that your library is really serving its patrons.
Describe your experience with staff training, development, and how you handle workplace personalities.
So I manage most of the training at my current library now. So I will develop a schedule, whether it's myself that is doing the training one-on-one or other staff that are doing training together. So we just had a new hire in Marblehead, and I created about a week-long schedule for that person. The first 2 days, hour by hour, making sure that all that training is getting done, whether it's evergreen, some of the more in-depth reference department, kind of weird things that pop up. And then making sure that staff member really gets an idea of how their library is really particular to maybe some of the other libraries in your consortium. So I think that so far training is, I find training to be one of the most exciting parts of the job. You get to introduce someone new to what you do and how you do it. I enjoy it. I love sharing my wealth of knowledge with someone else. I would love to continue doing that.
sorry, I didn't get the second part of the question. How do you handle workplace personality conflicts? So that happens everywhere. And with personality conflicts, I think that having having conversations with that person, whether it's between you and them, whether it's mediating between two others is important. And, I've done both. And I can manage that with just kindness and grace, really going to something like that. Like I said, it's one of those less comfortable things that you do when you're in leadership. But handling that, and, not making anyone feel embarrassed, inferior, anything like that. Just showing them respect, showing them that you are there to help them if possible. And then, if you have to mediate a situation like that, really just, see both sides of the story, try to help them figure it out. Please tell us about your experience managing library facilities. So please discuss library facility projects you've been involved in managing, tell us about the size of the project budget, and perhaps.
So I'm probably in the largest facilities transformation I have yet to be in, and that is the major renovation of the library. It is a $11.5 million job that I've been really lucky to work with my director on that. So between managing staff, coming up with, particular guidelines in order to speak to patrons, let them know what's going on with this renovation, having input of what we think this library should look like. And that could be anything from having 2 service desks and then having 1 service desk, how many bathrooms, and just all those little bits and parts and details that you don't really think about when you're looking just at a building. It's been a massive project. We've been in a temporary space for almost 18 months. The challenge is, on the other side of that, we're in a I would say an unfortunate building right now. We've had everything from flooding of the ceiling, water dripping on outlets. We've had heating problems, had some, mold problems there too. I mean, all the above. So, I'm one of the people that, if my director is absent, then I am making a phone call. For example, the other day I called our heating service company and said, hey, there's a gas smell. Can you come check it out? So I have a lot of experience with making those kinds of calls, making those kinds of decisions. I'm confident in that. It's one of the things that I think that I have been successful in as my role as assistant director. And yeah, the scale is probably the highest I've as an assistant director I've been in right now.
Please describe your outreach. What specific or types of community organizations you reach out to in order to develop collaborative relationships for the library's facility funding and permitting.
So I've been thinking about this quite a bit. So I'd like to start out with my first job here at Peabody was Tilly's Farm, 14 years old. Worked there for 10 years, and now, Tilly's Farm is now a city department. I've done some programming with Tilly's Farm in the past. It was a great educational program for young kids and their families, learning about the farm's history, what kind of plants and vegetables grow there, and picking up pumpkins and creating some kind of fun educational experience that also has a really great activity. And I want to continue working with a department like Tilly's Farm. I want to work with the Veterans Department, which I mentioned in my last interview. And also in conjunction with the schools. I mean, I have a lot of the teachers that I had in school are still there. And I think one of the other programming ideas I talked about was the Veterans History Project. And bringing students connected to veterans, interviews, and then sending those interviews to the Library of Congress. And the head of the department was one of my softball coaches. And so I think that these departments would be so thrilled to work with me again. And I would feel to work with them again. And I think it will expand the library's role in the community. I think we'd be more seen than ever. Having those connections in this town already. I think there are so many also businesses that are just popping up here. How can we collaborate with them? I mean, right across the street, we have Breaking Browns. How can we do more with that? I mean, it's limitless in Peabody. We just have so much of a rich community, rich, diverse population. I want to do more with diverse populations. I mean, we have all these resources at our hands. I think that we could provide more programming in different languages and really target, diverse groups. I think I covered it, but I know for sure.
So we're currently focused on our strategic planning and drafting our long-range plan for the library's next 5 years. Who do you see as important stakeholders to involve as we look at the library's long-range plan? And what would you like to focus on in the process?
I would really like to focus on expanding our collections and resources, like I just mentioned, for diverse populations. We are really in a time of censorship, and it's a problem in every library, but Peabody especially. And I really want to make sure that programming and collections are expanded to suit the needs of those in the community. That would be my number one goal in creating a long-range plan. I also think that, there can be some changes to the layout of this library in terms of programming space for children, especially. When I was here, the children were in like all the dungeon downstairs in this little tiny room. And now, they're on the second floor programming space or tech space. And really, how can this space change or adapt and improve to really get, serve every group in this library in a way that's equal and fair? For stakeholders, I think, we need to really contact this city as wide as it is. So that means patrons, people living here, people that we don't already reach. How can we reach them? Is it by surveys? Is it by sending mail-in surveys? Is it social media and in person? I mean, there's so many ways to capture their needs. It's just really getting that information. Being involved, with the trustees. I mean, every part, foundation, trustees, friends, all have to be a part of this long-range plan. We all have some goal in mind, and it's the library. So, you guys have information that, it's important for someone like me who's, if I was to create this long-range plan, to know.
What kind of experience have you had with boards of library trustees? In your opinion, what distinguishes an effective board of library trustees from an ineffective? And what would you expect from this board?
So I served on this board, 2020 to 2022. I had, once I got to Marblehead, I really wanted to stay connected to the city of Peabody and stay connected to this library. It was a really important thing for me to do, having just left. It was a sadness for me to go and excited to start somewhere new, but also to be connected. It's something I still wish I was a part of now, but as assistant director, I know those responsibilities really just ramped up for me. But my experience with boards, this board was a fantastic experience. I can't say I had one bad experience working with this board, and I think everyone that I had served with were, trusted the director's guidance, but also asked questions. There were questions being asked at every meeting, wanting to know more, wanting to be involved, wanting to improve the library even more than it's already done. And I also work with another town. I know some of their board members. Everyone has the interest in heart, but I really feel as the 2 libraries I work for, really just, you guys got it going on. You really do. You guys know what you're doing. You're committed to this city and this library, and I would love to work with a board like this again. And for what I expect from the board is really just keep asking questions and wanting to be involved, because it just shows our dedication to it.
Talk about your experience preparing and advocating for a library budget.
So most of my budget experience I talked about last time is really a lot of collection management. So I manage a collection now with my art fiction, which is 16,000 or 20,000, sorry. And then Self-Branch Library, I was in management of $16,000 budget. So between those two, it's, you're trying to serve your needs of your community, by also having to be wary of where that money's going. So my preparation of budget also, I've done a little bit of work with my director now on what to do going forward. Not having been a director yet, I don't have, that full-on hands experience, but I do have the resources to help me get there. I've worked closely with a couple directors that have worked here prior. And they are very committed to, any assistance I may need going forward. But really, I'm not scared of working with budgets. I think it's a new, fresh opportunity to really see what the library needs and, really what to do without, depending on cuts and.
What would you do during your first week on the job? What about the first week?
First week, my goal really, I want to meet all the staff. So I want to set up meetings with, department heads, full-time staff, part-time staff, visit the branches, see what they're up to. I really want to get to know the people that work here, beyond the ones I may already know. And, see what's working for them, what they're excelling in, what maybe think they need improvement in their departments. I really want to, as much as I can, boost morale. I'm that kind of person that will come in here and just be happy to be here, happy to meet you, happy to talk to you. And that would be my first week priority, is really just getting to know the people that work here. In the first month, I think I want to start really developing those partnerships, connecting with other city departments and, checking in with the staff, really meeting, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to move forward with? They've been here, they've been working actively, and, they're an essential piece of this.
What do you see as the most difficult task?
I think, managing people is always the hardest. It'll always be the hardest, and I think you work with so many different personalities. Not everyone works the same. It works well together and more so. And I think that working with different personalities is the most challenging piece. And as a manager, it's something I've learned is you're not always going to make everyone happy. It's really hard to do that, but it's being fair, and being fair is what is most important when you're in a leadership.
What would your current library director say is your greatest strength?
Great strengths. She would say that I'm great with staff. Great with staff and patrons. And I excel in making people feel comfortable and feeling like they belong, whether it's as a staff member or a library patron.
Do you have any closing statements, anything we didn't ask about that you'd like to share?
I would like to just mention that I feel as though my connection to this city and with this city and love for this city is unmatched to anyone that would be applying for this job. I think that I can really put Peabody Library more on the map than it's ever been, more seen than it's ever been, and my dedication to the city is just unwavering. And so I would really love the opportunity to be its director.
Yeah, thank you. So just so you're aware, our next steps, we interviewed 2 candidates tonight, but we're going to close this meeting and then we'll have our executive session and then reopen our executive session to a public vote. Okay. Will consent to. Okay, great.
Well, thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure to see some of you again and for the first time. Yeah, right, good. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
Thank you. So I call the order.
Oh, help, I can't see.
Board of Trustees.
All right, I'm gonna,
Prior to going into the executive session, you may do roll call.
Roll call, Ruth. Present. Jennifer. Here. Smith. Stephanie Najjar. Here. Rita Basalo. Here. Peter Bakula.
Yeah.
Ian Quinn.
And
She'll be back, I'm sure. Stacy Dolan.
Here.
Richard Shrubin.
Here.
Fran Galucci here, Stephanie Delaire, absent, Kate O'Brien.
Here.
hi there.
Ian, thank you. Okay, we're all set with that attendance.
All right, and so at this time, the Library Board of Trustees will go into executive session.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Thank you. And can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Jim,
Better.
the recording pause.
No. All right, so we're resuming the special library trustee meeting. Just be noted that Ann Quinn, instead of attending virtually, is attending via speakerphone due to technical difficulties. We are now going to take a roll call vote for the new library director position.
I make a motion to have a roll call vote for Kara Rothman.
So now you have to. We can call it.
Ruth Titlebaum? So
Yeah, what's your vote?
I vote for Kara Rothman. That's a yes. Jennifer Smith? I vote for yes. Stephanie Najjar? For Kara. Yes, for Kara. Katrina Pasalo? I vote yes for Kara. Yes, for Kara. Peter Bakula?
Yeah.
Yes, for Kara. Ann Quinn?
Yeah.
Yes, for Kara. Thank you. Stacy Dolan?
Yes, for Karen.
Yes, for Kara. Richard Truhian?
I vote yes for Carol Rothman.
Yes. Fran Galucci? Yes, for Kara Rothman. Kate O'Brien?
Yes, for Karen.
Unanimous vote for Kara Rothman to be our new library director.
Well, technically, it's not unanimous.
Oh,
So we will
missing-
present, our candidate to the mayor. So I need a motion to adjourn our special meeting.
Motion to adjourn the special executive board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.